Of the 63 oilmen ferried to Aberdeen in the 12 hours after the explosion, more than 20 are still being detained for treatment, some suffering from severe burns. But even the medical teams working round the clock are giving up hope of finding any more survivors.
The magnitude of the disaster became abundantly clear as the first of a series of helicopters landed at Aberdeen Royal Infirmary's helipad. The men who'd managed to escape the burning decks of the platform emerged. Walking to waiting ambulances, some seemed remarkably unscathed. Others were badly burned, scorched by the flames that had engulfed Piper Alpha. The anguish of waiting relatives was painful to behold. But Alistair Strachan had been lucky enough to see his brother-in-law, Fred Busby, from Knock near Huntly, step off one of the first flights back to the hospital.
Well, he said there was explosions. There was explosion and then another explosion, and when they got out, the only escape they could get from one of the guys that told me, he slid down a hose, a bunkering hose, and then he jumped into the water about 20 feet, and then they got picked up by one of the boats.
What did he say about the state of the platform itself?
Well, one of the guys that he knows, he said it's gone. He says it's split in two.
Meanwhile, plastic surgeons were arriving at the infirmary to carry out vital work. With the hospital's accident and emergency department under strain, Grampian Health Board advised those with appointments at A&E clinics not to attend. The pressure was on doctors and nurses to deal with what looks like the North Sea's worst ever disaster.
At Aberdeen, a team of 20 doctors and their nursing staff were still treating survivors in the Royal Infirmary's Accident and Emergency Unit. These men, suffering from a variety of injuries and burns, and many still in pain, are lucky to be alive. Brig Superintendent Andy Mochan from Glasgow told of his miraculous escape after being trapped for 2 hours in the wreckage of the accommodation area of Piper Alpha.
We get out and into a fab shop. When the rig started tilting over, the fab shop tilted over, and believe it or not, the jib of a crane, toppled, and that made a bridge, that we could get along to the edge and jump into the water from there.
How far did you have to jump?
About 100 feet. I spoke to one of the riggers, and he told me he heard a wail, like a banshee, just before the explosion. And that usually means that gas is escaping at high pressure.
Was there more?
It's a scream you hear,
How many explosions were there?
Oh, 20. In the course of the event, it took about 2 hours start to finish. And in that 2 hours, there was 20 explosions,
Did you hesitate before you jumped? Or did you just go for it?
No, the decision was made for me. It was roasting. It was fry or jump, so it was jump.
I'm down there. Another survivor, 40-year-old Keith Cunningham from Sunderland, was working as a diver on the rig at the time of the blast.
I was on the 20-foot level, and there was a massive explosion, great balls of flame. So I jumped into the sea.
As the medical staff at Aberdeen Royal Infirmary continued to care for survivors, their patients paid tribute to their hard work, skill and expertise.